Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Tom Tansy. I'm with the SunSpec Alliance, and I'll be hosting this workshop today, which is entitled Informational Webinar, should be Informational Workshop for Veteran Job Seekers with Computing Skills. And this is a follow-up to an outreach webinar that we did about 3 weeks ago, looking to inform the veteran community about what the opportunities are available in the distributed energy industry. Our particular focus tends to be on things associated with computing and networking. And so in many ways, this webinar represents sort of a refinement of that presentation and, of course, the tailoring of the information to you more along the lines of what specifically do you need to do to get a job, and if you find a job, what's it going to pay, and what field and what regions of the country might these jobs be in. So those are all the topics that we'll be covering today. I have a more detailed agenda. First of all, I would like to thank David Archuleta of VetJobs for agreeing to help put this program together. And I think this is a really good opportunity for our organizations to work together and to, of course, serve you in helping you in your goals of getting employment and careers in the distributed energy industry. So, David, thanks a lot for helping put this together.
Yeah. Hey, Tom. Thank you for taking time to do this. We really appreciate it.
Super. All right. Well, let's jump into the program then. First of all, just a reminder for you about who SunSpec is. We are a trade alliance, and as a trade alliance, our specialty is developing information standards, and specifically for the distributed energy industry. And so DER, that's a sort of a new term, but what that means is solar, photovoltaics, and energy storage, typically mounted on your rooftop, maybe in a carport, on a campus, things of that nature. And information standards. So all these distributed energy resources utilize datacom and networking and computing to do their thing. In this year, in 2020, the very first year that the national standard for distributed energy resources now includes networking in its profile. And so these information standards that we're talking about are the ones that are actually baked into the new U.S. national standard. As you can imagine, this is adding a whole new technology component to the field. It's not to say that these DER systems weren't communicating before and weren't interacting with IT systems before, but it was mostly a one-way conversation and pretty non-standard and pretty ad hoc. Now it's command and control all the way up and down for the purpose of providing grid stability and making markets and so forth. So it's a kind of a step change for the industry as it pertains to integrating information technology and operational technology into the field. So that's what we're passionate about doing. We have about 120 member companies, and you're going to see the profiles of many of them. These are folks that are building these systems or selling them or designing them. And these would represent the particular opportunities for you to seek and find employment. We also have about 1,000 different adopter partner organizations. And so as you can imagine, as an organization that works on information standards, and which means that we also develop a lot of code. So we have open source projects, we have various applications that we work on. And so through all these various endeavors to promote standardization of information in this field, we've developed quite a following. So in addition to our member companies, we also reach out to quite a number of software companies and integrators that are implementing these standards. And that represents a second audience and a second potential set of targets for you to find employment in. You can read about what SunSpec does, but SunSpec Modbus is the standard that's now been moved into the U.S. national standard for DER. That's IEEE 1547. And then we also have an application-to-application data exchange standard called Orange Button. And so these standards build upon one another, where Modbus operates at the bare metal, Orange Button operates at the application layer, and so for app-to-app communications. But the point of our standardization effort is to provide a high signal-to-noise ratio. So from what the data is coming from the equipment off the plant needs to be translated with high fidelity as it reaches the application. Now, why is that the case? Well, it's because, again, financing decisions, operation of the grid, et cetera, is all based on having that high quality information. And finally, again, the board representatives we have comes from a nice cross-section of the industry. And so most of them are solar industry focused practitioners. Fronius makes solar inverters. STEM, they make energy management systems and are quite famous for commercializing energy storage. T2 Systems, they make software for IEEE 23.5 data communication. This is another one of these national standards. SMA, again, is a solar inverter manufacturer. So if you're familiar with solar, and you've probably seen Fronius and SMA around for a long time, they're some of the pioneers. PowerDash is another company that makes management software. And then up and to the left, we have ARM. So if any of you uses a mobile phone, then you're holding many ARM processors in your palm. They're the number one manufacturer of microprocessors, and they own the mobile field. And so it's noteworthy that they've invested their time and effort in making this industry happen. And then finally, we have Underwriters Laboratories in the lower right-hand corner. So they're known for testing and certification, and quite often for safety testing related concerns. But they too, as you can imagine, this has become part of the national standard, are very heavily invested in this. So again, when you're thinking about jobs in the field, these are some representative companies that may work out for you. There's my smiling face. And so now you can put a face with a voice. I have considerably less hair now than I did just a few months ago because I've got the Corona cut going, but that's who I am. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of presenting here, and then I'll slow down my cadence for you so that you can ask some questions. But during today's program, which I hope to accomplish in maybe the next 20-25 minutes, is provide you with information so that you can digest, and then we'll use the second half of our time together to answer your questions. And I hope that there are some specific questions coming back. And so the agenda seeks to answer these questions. So where are the jobs for computing and IT people? Where are they in terms of industry sector? Where are they in the country? What do they pay? And again, looking at the same dimensions as these jobs are distributed across the U.S., what's the relative pay as you go from region to region, and the relative concentration of jobs in each region? What types of companies are hiring? When you hear energy companies, I don't know what type of images come to your mind, but usually what I hear is a fairly unidimensional sort of a picture of what an energy company might look like. And it turns out that there's lots of companies that are involved in energy. And so in that section, we'll help you decipher what's what in terms of what types of companies and what do they do, where do they fit in the supply chain, the value chain, et cetera. What skills are energy industry employers looking for in computer people? So I think this is a really important question if you're looking for any job, and a really important question in the current context where computer people are just really coming into the sector in large numbers. And so just understanding what the selection criteria and how people view you, how they evaluate your capabilities in this particular sector is what we'll cover in that topic. And then finally, you're here to get jobs. And so we want to instruct you about the best way about how to go get a job. And we want to encourage you to allow us to introduce you to employers. You will see at least partially the roster of companies that are involved and invested in our effort. And these are the exact employers that have job openings that they're looking to fill. Okay, so if you saw our webinar from about a month ago, I clicked through this particular slide to make the point that distributed and renewable energy is a national issue, meaning that it fits into different economies, it fits into different lifestyles, and that it is also highly integrated with some major trends in society, the distribution of power being one of them, certainly for resilience and for national security purposes. Distributed systems tend to be quite good at providing that type of capability. And these new systems are also smarter and tied together with some major trends that we see in society, like the electrification of everything, starting with the cars and bus fleet. So of note, on a parenthetical note with regard to transportation, I'll make a prediction right now, and is that the buses, the long haul freight, and so forth, the larger vehicles, I think you're going to see make a very big impact in society in this country over the course of about the next 2, 3, 4 years. And so it won't just be a novelty, little electric cars. You've got Amazon, every major logistics company keying up to support electric fleets. And why? Because they're better, they're cleaner, they're cheaper, they're more intelligent, they're more adaptable. And this is the thing that really attracted me to the sector, the solar energy sector in particular, is how flexible and how fungible it is, so that it could provide benefits in any part of the country or world. And in 2019, we had 250,000 jobs in the sector. Now, COVID's given us a hit, but solar, wind are here to stay. So where are the jobs, and where will we be spending our time today? The total number of jobs, about 2/3 of them, are installation project development. And yes, there are a few IT jobs involved there, but effectively we can sort of discount that. Where you as computer folks are going to be looking jobs is in the remaining third of the sector. And operations and maintenance, that is probably one of the areas in wholesale trade and distribution. Of course, they're using computing extensively in wholesale trade and distribution, and run SaaS systems and so forth. But there certainly are jobs there. But really, I would say the bigger focus for IT people is going to be in that upper quadrant. Operations and maintenance, which is a budding sector, and a lot of grid control technology fits right in there in the O&M sector. Manufacturing, because the devices are getting smarter, supply chains are getting more complex, and so forth. Plenty of jobs there. And really the all other sectors. So you may say, all right, well, it's out of 250,000 jobs now, you dialed it down to 23% where you could compete. But I would say again, there's plenty of opportunity here for this reason. When employers are looking to hire people, because the industry is growing so fast, they're mostly selecting brand new people into the sector. So yes, there is some internal tooling up of folks, but really most of the new jobs are going to people that previously were not involved in the industry. So good opportunities for people looking to get in on the ground floor of a burgeoning industry. Now, we looked at this slide before at the previous webinar, but now I wanted to drill in on a few of the things that are more relevant to you all here on this call in terms of which jobs are most difficult to fill. Engineers, scientists, yes, we certainly have a dearth of those. Technicians and mechanical support, I mean, those two sectors represent 30% of the total of the most difficult jobs to fulfill. Operations and development, I think people see IT, software, or web developers, and they get discouraged by that. But my experience of working in this field is that you can pretty much take that line literally, is that This is for companies that want to build their websites because, as with all things energy, the adoption of technology tends to lag other parts of society. So, but really, I would say if you're going to look for the bigger opportunities within the hard-to-fill jobs, starting from the top, engineer, scientist, technician, mechanical support, operations and business development, which is maybe a field that you as a computer person don't think about, but these proposals that get made to build these big plants, they're extremely complicated. Quite often, custom software gets developed to do the financial analysis, and so there's plenty of opportunity there. And then IT, web soft developers, and analysts and research positions. So plenty of good opportunities and ways that you can target and direct your efforts when you go about looking for a job. Here's the broad strokes in terms of what do hard-to-fill jobs pay. And I'll skip over this. I mean, I'm going to provide you with the slides when we're done here so you can see all the different job titles that have been offered that would fall into one of these categories. And that's kind of a nice rosy picture, but it's not very specific. So we try to drill down one level deeper here to look at the types of jobs that individuals that are coming out of technology boot camps could reasonably expect to jump into as an entry-level sort of engineer development technical track. And so specifically, we looked at software engineering and software development. We look at the IT range of jobs, IT and OT range of jobs. And actually, that's another important point. Quite often, these jobs in the sector are referred to as OT jobs. Now, that's an emerging category, and it's a bit harder to find wage data. So we combine IT and OT, and that represents that sector. Networking is clearly a very big piece of it because we're installing networks, and then cybersecurity to back it all up. And then if you look at places across the country, we tended to pick 3 cities that have high populations of veterans. We thought this would be a relevant metric for folks like you all. And for these types of jobs, which are a step up from entry level in many cases, maybe 1 or 2 steps up in some cases, but in terms of entering the field, these would be sort of normal, either first or second level type of jobs that you would take as you start to get into the field. And so the pay is pretty good, varies by region, some cases, not so much in others, but there you go. And so we look forward to engaging with you on this topic too, just to see what you think about. Are these the types of jobs you would normally think of going for, or did you have something else in mind? And that could be too, because of course, all of these fields have all types of specialties. All right, so getting down to what companies are hiring, I would break out 5 primary categories of companies that have a high need for people with computing skills. We'll start with the utilities, and this has been a pretty well discussed and documented story about utility companies having their having their workforce start to age out. So many of the utility engineers and so forth that work for these companies are heading towards retirement, and so that means that there's really a chasm and a need for talent in these types of companies. And so I give you some examples: Constellation, Duke, Salt River Project. These are utilities probably that people don't think about that have significant investment in renewables and in distributed energy, but they do. Actually, these days it's hard to not find at least a larger utility that doesn't have a major program. Then, of course, the California IOUs have to be in this territory. It's a state mandate, and so again, this is another thing that plays into the calculus of entering the field. State after state is now mandating renewable and distributed energy in a very short period of time. So that's a good place for looking for a job and finding a job. The second category is project developers and independent engineers. So these are the folks that are scouting for new locations to put up new renewable and distributed energy. And I give you just an example of some of the places that those companies work in. When it comes to field deployment, of course, they are deploying to every state in the union, including Montana, which happens to be a high growth area for utility scale. But in any case, that's another key sector. So project developer, that's one that goes and finds the land, finds the buyer for the energy, does all the engineering on the system, gets it through approval. It just does everything that's required to get a new energy system up and going. This could be for large scale energy, or that do the same thing but in residential. And some examples of project developers you may have heard there: Sunrun, Vivint, Tesla, SunPower. Those would be 4 big brand names that handle the sort of smaller systems. And again, they work in all the popular states where solar is popular, which there's about 14 or 15 leading states now. On the manufacturing front, and give you a few examples, Fronius, one of our board members, they're outside of Chicago and Portage, Indiana. Schneider Electric, they're actually based in Paris. They're a global brand. They have major locations in, I believe, 6 or 7 major employment locations in 6 or 7 spots in the United States. And what I will also point out in terms of the jobs is that the energy business tends to be global in nature. So a lot of the big manufacturers and suppliers, they might serve 100 different companies, and they're developing projects in equal number of countries. And so if you're inclined to work abroad, I think there's plenty of opportunities there. STEM, also on one of our board members, they make these energy management systems, and traditionally it's been for commercial, for Fortune 500 campuses, or even any smaller company's campus, for both effectively cutting down on your energy bill, but then also providing resilience against blackouts and so forth. They've morphed their business model to where they develop solar projects as well. I mean, it turns out batteries are going into all types of systems, big and small, and they're really good at managing this energy. So they also, like Generac, the next company down below, they're doing really interesting things in command and control and orchestration of these types of systems. And so this is a sector where you'd see AI and computing principles like that start to come in terms of how these energy management system works. And so Generac and STEM are 2 examples of manufacturing doing exactly that. You also have system design and ancillary software, and these are 2 California companies that are highlighted, and there's probably a preponderance of them here. So this is a desktop or web app software for building, automatically simulating and designing solar arrays. And really, really cool stuff happening here as well, where they're using all sorts of LiDAR related technologies. They're taking inputs from different weather models and real-time weather to just nail down and pinpoint the very specific design, and equally importantly, the value proposition. So if a customer invests in a solar or an energy plant, what are they going to get out of it? And that, of course, is a lot dependent upon, well, how good is the data coming out of it, because that affects its ability of the system to provide its service. Okay, we're kind of getting a little bit too in the weeds, though. The 5th category is on grid security. And so right after this call, I'll be on a call with the National Association of State Electric Officials, And these are the public utility commissions and the chief energy officer. It works for every governor for every state in the union. And so they think grid security is a big deal in these changing national standards. And so I didn't put up here the public sector, but I think also public sector jobs also an important opportunity for you. Again, specifically since the governors are now considering the cybersecurity question. And there's a couple of examples of companies that are emerging in this field as well. So lots of different places for you to go and all that need help. Okay, so let's do a time check. Okay, I'm doing okay. So why are the jobs hard to fill? And we can look at the long tail or not. So let's not do that. Let's look at what the hiring manager are saying in general. First of all is lack of experience, training, or technical knowledge. Now, my understanding is that the majority of you on this call have nailed the training and technical knowledge. That most of you have gone through some sort of a boot camp, have taken some specialized training. Maybe in the military, you even had an occupational specialty that was somewhere related to IT, OT. So you should probably be in pretty good shape there. If you're not, then we can shore up those skills as well. We have some solutions for that. But my understanding is many folks on this call have been through the process of getting that basic training. So then look at the second reason. Why is it a job hard to fill? So competition or small applicant pool. So what they're saying here, the hiring managers are saying, is that when it comes to hiring folks like you, it is actually a seller's market, right? So what they're seeing is that sometimes they're getting beat out within the solar and energy industry for better applicants, and they're finding that they have a small pools of people to choose from, and quite often are making the decision not to hire because they just feel like they didn't get enough qualified applicants to fill the needs, and didn't want to invest without doing the due diligence. So I think that is another area coming in with skills and training that you can compete here. And then the third element is lack of industry specific knowledge, skills, and interest. Cited number 3. I have a personal story about this. So I am a lifelong entrepreneur working in the software field, most of my career working in Silicon Valley. And I had some success along the way. And about, I guess the time I started SunSpec, which was about 12 years ago, I was looking to break in to the solar and energy industry. And despite my prior success, I had a really hard time finding a job. And so why was that? Well, the industry was small at that time. The dominant paradigm, it was all about manufacturing and hardware and so forth, and not so much what you knew about IT and automation. So I had to really tool myself up and learn all the jargon, learn the terms of art, really learn the structure of the industry. And so fortunately, I had the opportunity to invest the time to do that, and I did it in the process of starting the SunSpec Alliance. So this is actually an inspiration for myself and the person who helped me start the Alliance, Bob Fox, to take the opportunity to develop a specific course so that people wouldn't have to go through the 3 to 5 years worth of learning curve to learn all the terms and so forth. We'll just kind of distill it and provide it to you. And so if people on this call would probably lack one skill, I would guess I would be on that third item. Not lack of not lack of interest, but lack of skills and knowledge about the terms of art. And so this is a hole that we can help you fill. But if you can hit on those 3 counts, then I think you have a pretty good shot at filling a hard to fill job. All right. So how can CyberGuardians help you get a job? So I mentioned this industry specific knowledge. We have a training course that is starting today, effectively. And I think registration cuts off tomorrow. And it's called An Introduction to Distributed Energy Resources in the Electrical Grid. So this course will instruct you on how the nation's electrical grid is constructed, how it's built up into various regions, how the regions interconnect with one another, and furthermore, how solar and energy fit into that grid, the locations, the parts of the system, and so forth, how the orchestration of all the above works, how the regulation works, what the terms are, etc. And so this is this fundamental course that we're having everyone that enrolls in our program go through, because this is the level setting. This is the sort of the table stakes. If you want to get an energy job, you have to learn how to speak energy speak. And so we know that you've been going through a lot of training, but if this is a case where we'll ask you to go one more time, it's an online course, it's self-paced, it's set up so that you can take the quizzes and the exams as many times as you want, because we want you to get an A. It offers university credit, and it doesn't require that you be enrolled in the university. It's through their extension program, but it does provide credit if you want it. You can also take it pass or no pass. I think a grade is generally going to be more impressive to a hiring manager, but you have that option. You can also audit it. And so when we follow up with you, we'll provide you with a coupon that will allow you to sign up for that today. So if you're convinced that you want to get a job, then we'll encourage you to take one more step, double down, and get the training you need here. Okay, now maybe you already know something about distributed energy, or you're going for a job that maybe doesn't require as much domain-specific expertise, because I don't know, you're going to work on one of those wholesale distribution or supply chain type of issues, or web development. Whatever the reason is, we want you to enroll in the Cyberguardians Career Center. So when you go here, you're going to find some jobs, and there are, at the time that we took this, of course, there's 23 listings, but please don't be discouraged by that. We have a far greater number than that haven't put their jobs in there yet. We just haven't gotten to that part of the program, but we know where those jobs are, and we can direct you to them. We want you to register here so that you can upload your resume, and so that we at SunSpec Alliance can review that and help screen you and place you. And so that's the whole purpose, is to get into the system so that we can help put you in front of an employer. So then the third step, which is, again, make sure you've got the basics covered, get enrolled in the system so we know who you are and what your skills and qualifications are. And then the third step is talk to us, and then we'll introduce you to a member company. So this is a screen cap that I took off of the first two screens from the SunSpec member page. So it covers A through the middle of the G. So this will give you an idea about the different types of manufacturers and service providers and companies that are involved in our alliance. They're located in all parts of the country and the world, and pretty much all of them either are or soon will be hiring. We also have advisory board members. There's some overlap here with SunSpec member companies and some new companies as well. Again, they represent all parts of the supply chain, and I've laid them out on this map according to where they are in the company. So the ones on the left are in the West Coast, the ones in the middle are in the Midwest, the ones on the right are operating out of the East Coast. And all these companies, well, I guess maybe with the exception of the educational institutes, UC San Diego, who's our partner in the West, and North Carolina State, our partner in the East. I don't know what their employment situation is there, but everybody else is firmly in the business and has joined onto this program because they need people with your talents. And so that's, in a nutshell, is the pitch, if you will, about why you should be interested in coming into the distributed energy industry and where you might fit. So I'm done talking at you, and I would now like to talk with you, and address any of the questions that you may have been thinking about as we've gone on here.
Hey, Thomas, I have a question for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, it's Matt Wood here. Thanks for presenting this. This is great information for us. I know there's some of us on this call that are currently doing a like a military separation program for software development. So I don't know, like, how can us that are doing it, like, our time's already taken up quite a bit. Is that going to be an option to still get into fields like this, or do you think we absolutely need to do the electrical training program that you guys are advertising in order to get into a field like this?
Hey, thank you so much for asking that question, because the answer is nuanced, right?
Okay.
I had to present it the way I did just because ultimately I think you're going to need that training. However, if you have skills and you are ready to go now, then by all means, we won't hesitate to put you in front of a hiring manager.
Okay.
I would advise you that let's say that you come into the program, we introduce you, and you actually get a job. I would still advise you to go back and take that course, because it's going to help you on your learning curve in terms of communicating with your peers. But is it an absolute requirement? By no means. We'll be happy to engage you. If you're looking for a job now, hey, come and talk to us. Get registered, of course, so that we can efficiently route your resume and so forth. But we'll be more than happy to put you in direct contact.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for that information. So basically, just step one for us is just kind of wait for that informational email from you guys for the way forward. Okay. Cool. Thanks, Thomas.
And if so please consider taking the course now. Again, but you don't have to. If you're going to skip taking the course, then what you'll need to do is to log on to the Career Center, put your resume in there, and we will pick it up from there, and we'll give you a call to have a personal interview and try to understand what it is you're looking for and what you're bringing to the table, and then we'll match you up with one of our employers.
Okay, cool, awesome. Thank you for doing that.
Hey, Tom, this is David. So we also have some of our career specialists on here that work directly with our MSSA participants and grads. So guys and gals, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise them to Tom now, as if you have any questions in reference to your candidates.
I do have a question, actually. So I have a background in electronics, but on the aviation side of the military. Does that correlate at all to what this company does, or the companies that are hiring through this?
Sure. I mean, avionics system, it's a sophisticated compute device with lots of ins and outs. And so, I mean, technical skills like what you're describing, I think they translate pretty closely. I mean, it's not going to be perfect because you're not going to find an avionics system on a solar power plant, but are you going to find a sophisticated sensor system or SCADA system, things of this nature? Absolutely. So there will be some obviously changes in the specifics of the type of technology, but that type of electronics experience is pretty transferable to these fields.
Awesome, thank you.
I mean, yeah. I think that that folks tend to underestimate transferability of skills, and if I've been a hiring manager, of course, I work for some of these companies that I put up on the screen, and so I know how we think because I am one of them. And so what I'm looking for is people that are inquisitive and analytical and methodical, and fun to be around, and have other types of skills too. But if you've shown an aptitude of tackling this type of complex, difficult technology, those are transferable skills, because so much of what we're dealing with in society now is being invented in real time. So you're not going to find the exact plug compatible fit where yes, some employer is going to use exactly the kit or the gear that you used in your last job. That's just not likely to happen these days. It's likely to be something new. So that ability to apply your capabilities to learn something new I think is going to be a key hallmark of impressing a hiring manager, and of course then getting a job. I also wanted to make a plug, because I forgot to do it, in terms of companies that are hiring, that SunSpec is one of them. So we're involved in, of course, R&D for the industry, and so we're going to be involved in a project where we're spinning up a test bed for electric vehicles, batteries, energy storage, and so forth. So we have the need for several engineers in that group. So we are definitely one of the outfits that, if you're looking for a job in the near term, you should just know that we're a potential target as well. We're located in Northern California, but our team is virtual and spread out, so we're not hung up on location. Especially with COVID, we've become quite used to working across time zones, and we do that anyway. We work with people all around the globe, and so yes, it's important to be, especially for young workers, it's important to be together so you can learn from your peers. But in terms of getting the job done these days, that's not absolutely required. A lot of companies are offering sort of work from home or virtual positions.
It's Savannah again. Another question. So you mentioned that one of the soonest thing or class that you guys have going, the sign up ends tomorrow. Is there going to be another fixed date for another one, like after we're done with this program that we're currently working in?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't give much of an overview about Cyberguardians program, but we just finished up year one of a 3-year program, and year one is mostly dedicated to developing curriculum. And so at UC, we'll also be having winter quarter, and then we will be offering this same class at North Carolina State online extension, I believe starting in late October. Is that right, Thomas, or November?
Late October.
Late October, okay. We can provide that information. So yeah, there's more than one opportunity to join. Now, we would like to get people in. We're offering a special incentive in order to do that, to give people scholarships. But yes, there will be other opportunities.
And I'm assuming that it accepts the GI Bill as well.
Well, absolutely. So the University of California Extension and North Carolina State Extension, these are operating educational institutions, and yes, they do charge for their courses. And the GI Bill question is a good one. The particular course that we're advertising here that ends tomorrow is part of a power engineering certificate. And as I've learned about GI Bill is that they approve and accredit certificate programs rather than individual courses. And so in order to qualify for GI Bill, assuming that you want to take the full course and get a specialty certificate, then you will need to choose an institution, North Carolina State and UCSD, or two of them, that offer specialized certificates in that arena. And next spring, we will be offering 2 new certificates through both of these institutions, one in communication software development, and the second one on DER cybersecurity. So these are new programs that we will be seeking GI Bill approval for those as well. And we've been informed by our educational institutions that it is certainly possible to effectively grandfather in courses that you've taken. All right, because the certificate requirements are established in terms of what courses will be involved in them, and all that has been well accepted by the related universities. And so there is an argument that we can take that if you take this DER course now and it applies to the software development certificate, for example, that will be starting up under the GI Bill, that you'd get credit, academic credit, but then if you were to pursue that software development certificate, you could apply GI Bill to courses that you can't get for free out of either of these institutions. And I know that was complicated, but I'm, as a service provider, we're still kind of getting our heads wrapped around how GI Bill works as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit complicated going through all of the necessary documentation and whatnot.
Hey, Tom, we have a question here in the chat that I'll read out to you. From Marco Brigado, he asks, I'm looking at the SunSpec job section and I don't see many software development / cybersecurity or any entry-level IT related jobs. I know you said that you had a lot of job opportunities that just were not up yet. Would you happen to know how many openings for software development jobs are in the industry currently? And how many companies are partnered with SunSpec?
Okay. Well, go to the companies partnered with SunSpec. 120 dues paying members. Actually, I think the number is 122 as of today. And in terms of when we survey the membership, it would appear that at least 2/3 of them have openings for people with computing skills. And some companies, of course, the main thing they look for is computing skills. So it's difficult for me to put a firm number on it because I haven't done a complete census, but I can give you some, anecdotes. SunSpec has 5 open positions. STEM, again, one of our board members, they specialize, of course, in energy management systems. They have about 20 open positions. So companies that develop software for energy management typically are in a similar mode because their business is really starting to take off. So in terms of how many jobs are available in industry, so out of 250, let's take 250,000 as the base for total jobs in solar in the United States as of 2019. And if you subtract 2/3 of them, say subtract about 160,000, right? So that leaves you with about 90,000 jobs that fit into the so-called all other category. All right, so that's 90,000 jobs that are represented here in this part of the pie. And so just back of the napkin calculation would say that probably 10% of that remainder, so maybe 10,000 jobs available. And where these are the most hard to fill jobs and they're all brand new, and they tend to, if they're not filled, they tend to gate the ability of the industry to grow. So, I mean, I think I'm being fairly conservative in that, and that sort of estimation, because I'm probably completely overlooking all the IT jobs that are associated in wholesale and distribution trade. But I think that's a reasonable estimate. Now, I know one area. Oh, I'm sorry. But I know I overlooked one other. That analysis overlooks one other number, and that's the utility company sector. where there's probably 50,000 jobs open for people that have computing skills in these companies. So, I mean, this is actually kind of a story of a budding national crisis in terms of the brain drain from utilities due to people retiring, and yet society's reliance on them. So that's another sector that we have, admittedly, lesser penetration into this sector, but with these companies listed here, we work with them all and know that they all have openings, and they tend to be, again, larger organizations. Sorry, Thomas, you had another one?
We have another one related to the GI Bill, but the question is this program available to National Guard and reserves using GI Bill in accepted locations?
I'd have to get with my GI Bill expert to answer that question, but I think it's actually, if you're looking for getting job placement, job assistance, then the GI Bill has no bearing, because if you have the other requisite skills and all you're lacking is industry specific stuff, you can, at your option, either take this course or not, and we'll still be happy to connect you with an employer. Now, in terms of GI Bill regulations, again, I would have to defer and get an answer back to you. Or just David and team, do you know that answer?
Yeah, Tom, I don't know specifically. I would venture towards yes. I don't see why the National Guard or the Reserves would not be able to utilize the GI Bill in this capacity. But that's just me off of experience talking.
All right. Do we have any other questions?
We just have a question about the courses online or a physical location option.
Yeah, at the moment, well, okay, the answer to that question in two parts. One is SunSpec by default, when we publish curriculum, we make it available for the online format. Easiest way to get to people anywhere in the world. However, we also offer the option for the educational institutions to use the information and the curriculum for their own courses, and so that we can offer hands-on training. And in particular, the North Carolina State connection that we have with their tech center, they have they are an accredited training and applications institution, so they offer mentoring and on-campus support and practical experience in terms of laying hands on actual equipment and so forth. But the curriculum as we offer it today is 100% online. But you can expect in-person options coming soon, specifically at North Carolina. All right. Well, thanks everybody for your time today. I know it's valuable. I know many people are anxious to get into the workforce. We're anxious to get you into the workforce. We have a variety of different ways that we can support you, and if that means simply helping you connect you with an employer, we are more than happy to do that. We're at your service. We will follow up with you you get a copy of the presentation. You get links to all of the different resources that we mentioned here, and we hope to be working with you in the future. Thank you again for your time and attention.
Hey, Tom, this is David. Hey, career specialists, MSSA grads, participants, I just want to thank you for jumping on today. I know you're all very busy. Tom, I appreciate you, Thomas, for getting this scheduled and organized in such a short time frame. But thank you all, and we'll circle back with you, Thomas.
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right, y'all have a good day.